Hello and welcome to the Round 21 edition of the NRL Rewind. I'm Phil Whitehead. As usual, we've got a lot to get through and not much time to get through it in, so let's have a look first of all at all the weekend's action with the weekly wrap. Round 21 kicked off as the Manly Sea Eagles took another home game up to Blue Tongue Stadium in Gosford to face the resurgent West Tigers. It was a game of two completely contrasting halves as Manly looked a class above in the first 40 minutes, leading 12-0 at the break. However, the Tigers proved just how quickly they can pile on the points, with 3 tries in 6 minutes and 62% of possession in the second half, enough to complete a referee-assisted 14-12 upset. Friday night's other game was anything but a contest, as the Brisbane Broncos took another step toward a top 4 finish by humiliating a Paul Gallen-less Sharks outfit 46-16. This game was more about how awful Cronulla were in the first half, as they put on what could easily be the worst half of football this season. Brisbane were professional in their approach and took their opportunities, but there are sides in the New South Wales Cup who could have led by the same 34-6 score at half-time. To their credit, the Sharks did show some resolve after the break, but Brisbane could afford to look to next week by then. In a match featuring two of this season's biggest underachievers, the Roosters would deal a massive blow to the Bulldogs' hopes of scraping into the top 8, winning 32 points to 28, and moving 2 wins clear of wooden spoon contention. Both sides showed glimpses of their best in attack, but this was promoted by consistently poor goal line defence. The Dogs needed a win here to be a realistic chance of finishing in the top 8, and their failure to deliver means they might as well start planning their end-of-season trip. The North Queensland Cowboys aren't saying Jonathan who yet, but they continue to play winning football while their injured superstar looks on. The task against the Penrith Panthers became a little easier after Luke Lewis was unable to return from a concussion suffered right on half-time, and the home side would cruise to a 6-3 win, moving into third on the ladder in the process. Few would have predicted that the Newcastle Knights would be the first team to score 50 in a game this season. Sadly, the fact they did it against the Gold Coast Titans was no surprise. Live wire winger Akili Iwate scored a hat-trick as the Knights took a massive step toward the finals, showing they might just be capable of springing an upset from 7th or 8th in the process. They might be disappointed in their defensive application during stages of this game, but they were irresistible in attack, while the Titans looked like sure things for the wooden spoon. We've known it for weeks, but the Canberra Raiders season can officially be declared over after a 29-10 loss against the Warriors in New Zealand. For their part, the Warriors might just be looking over their shoulders, with the Tigers and Knights playing some pretty impressive football recently. They continue to sit in 6th position, but it seems unlikely that they'll improve on that any further, unless the Dragons continue their recent skid for a few more weeks. Speaking of the Dragons, it looked like business as usual when their much talked about left edge had built them a supposedly insurmountable 20-0 lead after 25 minutes. But few could have predicted how this was to end, as a Dylan Farrell hat-trick and some Chris Sando wizardry inspired Souths to the unlikeliest of comeback wins. It was the second week in a row where the Dragons would let a win get away after being totally in control after 40 minutes. Coach Wayne Bennett didn't miss anyone with his post-match assessment, questioning his players' desire to win after that display. Monday Night Football looked like completing an unthinkable treble, with the previously second and third ranked sides tasting defeat over the weekend, and the competition leading Melbourne Storm down 18-0 to Parramatta with 25 minutes remaining. Sadly though, as they've done so many times this season, the Eels would find a way to snatch defeat from the jaws of victory. Ill discipline and a total lack of self-belief from Parramatta was enough to allow Melbourne the opportunity to score 4 late tries and turn their worst performance of the season into a bizarre win. Credit to Melbourne for never giving up, but I'm genuinely feeling sorry for Eels fans, and I support Manly, so that's saying something. So that leaves the ladder looking like this, with a 4-point gap between 8th and 9th, making it extremely difficult for those teams outside finals contention with 5 rounds to go, and Melbourne seeming to have one hand on the minor premiership. Now it's time to have a bit of fun with the rant of the week, and if it wasn't obvious enough already, I am a Sea Eagles fan, so there's only one direction that I'm going to be taking this week. That pass. That Robbie Farah pass to Blake Aychford. And if a few of you out there are a little bit sketchy in the memory department and can't quite remember what I'm referring to, take a look at a few key frames of that pass right now. Now, just in case there are a few Tigers fans amongst you that can't see that that pass was 2 to 3 metres forward, here's the official word on that pass from none other than referee's boss, Bill Harrigan. Yes, in our view it was forward. We're not about to try and manufacture an excuse to hide that fact. I simply felt the officials made an incorrect call, and that has been pointed out. Mistakes will be made from time to time. We need to do all we can to prevent them, and part of that is putting your hand up to acknowledge an error. At this point, I'd like to take a moment to call out every single rival fan who tried to argue with me till they were blue in the face that that ball had drifted forward and didn't actually leave Robbie Farah's hands in a forward motion. How's that theory looking now? And I've got to say that this has been building for a number of weeks. This week was the 4th match in succession where Manly had a completely inexplicable decision go against them. Now, in 3 of those past 4 weeks, we've been good enough to win the match, but that doesn't hide the fact that I'm not whinging. I'm not going to sit here and whinge about being on the wrong end of a 50-50 decision. These were blatantly and inexplicably wrong decisions. If that happens on enough occasions, eventually it's going to bite you in the arse, and that's what's happened this week. Manly lost the game against Wests because of a pass that was 3 metres forward. At what point do the referees have to stand up and say, yeah, we're getting it too wrong too often, instead of the rhetoric that gets spewed out by Bill Harrigan and Stuart Raper every other week, which is, oh yeah, sorry, thank you, stick your empty apology straight up your ass, get it right next. Thanks for letting me get that off my chest. And so now it's on to the fearless prediction of the week. And I'm looking at something that may appear likely to some of you, not so likely to others, but I'm going to make my prediction that after the Dragons' loss to the Rabbitohs this weekend, and on the back of the stinging assessment of their performance in the last 2 weeks by Wayne Bennett, the Dragons will go through the remainder of the 2011 regular season undefeated. This might not sound like the biggest prediction to some of you, but they do have a tricky run home. They've got to play the Tigers, who are in great form. They've also got to play Melbourne in round 24, and they've got to play the Warriors in the run home also. I am going to stick to what I said. The Dragons will win all of their remaining matches. They will finish in the top 4, and they will still be a major force in determining who wins the premiership this season. That about wraps it up for this round 21 edition of NRL Rewind. I'm Phil Whitehead. Thank you very, very much for watching. Don't forget to subscribe and like this video. Also check us out on Facebook and Twitter, and I will see you next week with all the round 22 action.